Let's go to Angela's question on Instagram. She said, I had gestational diabetes. So that means she had diabetes while she was pregnant with her daughter. She says, and since having my daughter, my fasting blood sugar is still semi-high, 110 to 115. I'd really like to start intermittent fasting, but I'm unsure if it's recommended for my situation. I assume I'm pre-diabetic because we know fasting blood sugar of 126 would be diagnosed as diabetic, but something over 100, consistently up over 100, if you were to get a medical diagnosis, you would be medically diagnosed as pre-diabetic. So she's correct there. She says she eats properly. I eat properly to combat it developing further. I've listened to all of your podcasts about high blood sugar, but never heard this question answered. This is a really good question. So she has high blood sugar and she's talking about fasting blood sugar in the morning. And she's wondering if intermittent fasting would help that situation or if it would make it worse. And this is a really good question. And so it really just depends on where you're coming from. Are you overweight? Are you looking to lose weight? If you're overweight and you have excess belly fat, it's a sign that you're insulin resistant, and then your fasting blood sugar being high would be problematic. Now, if you're very lean, if you're a leaner individual and you have higher blood sugar and you're on a lower carb diet, it's not necessarily problematic. In fact, it's what we call a dawn phenomenon, where in the morning time you have elevated blood sugar, and that's because you have elevated amounts of cortisol, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and your body is revving it up because it's a good fat burner, and it also wants to have a higher amount of sugar in the blood ready for any sort of activity that you have. I don't get overly concerned about fasting blood sugar as long as I'm able to look at your hemoglobin A1C, which is kind of like a measurement of how much glycation, where the sugar molecule will actually bind to proteins and cause damage to the blood cell. It will damage the hemoglobin. If that's up over, let's say 5.5, 5.5%, and you have elevated fasting blood sugar, that can be problematic. It's telling us that you're getting a lot of glycation. So a lot, and that's causing more oxidative stress and inflammation in the system, causing less effective oxygen delivery to cells. So that's problematic. Or if your insulin is very high, your fasting insulin is high. So I would like to look at those things before I can really make a good analysis of where your blood sugar is. Now, what I would recommend is getting out and walking early in the day or doing some sort of activity early in the day that can help bring that blood sugar down. And it's also very good for being just feeling awake and feeling really, really healthy and really good. Just getting out, getting early morning sun exposure, getting regular some sort of exercise, some sort of movement in. I think that's really helpful. And then you can try intermittent fasting. I think you still can do it depending on how you feel, but you might not do it every day. So you might do something like what we call a crescendo fast, where you do a 16-hour fast between your last meal and your first meal the next day, twice a week on non-consecutive days. So let's say you did it Monday and Thursday, you did a 16-hour fast where you ate between, let's say you finished dinner at 7 p.m. and then you waited till 11 a.m. the next day before consuming your first meal. And then you do that again on Thursday. So with intermittent fasting, I think there's such great benefits for it. It's going to make your body more metabolically flexible, better at burning fat for fuel, better at regulating blood sugar. But you don't have to do it every day to get the benefits. I think that's something that is important for people to understand. You can get benefits from it. Doing it even 2 days a week, even 1 day a week, you're still going to get some benefits from it. So I personally feel great doing it every day, but not everybody does. So I think that would be a good way to start. And then I would check your fasting blood sugar. Let's say if you're checking it regularly when you first wake up, let's check it 10, or 10 a.m. or like right before you break your fast on your fasting days, right? And kind of see where it's at. Ideally getting it down, around 100 would be good, or even under that into, 80, 90 in that range, but it's not always going to be like that. And that's okay. Again, as long as you're in a very lean state, where your body fat percentage is lower and you're not feeling overwhelmed, right? If you're feeling anxious, irritable, if you're feeling the hangry type symptoms or nauseous when you're doing the fast, that could be a sign that your body is not delivering, it's not burning fat for fuel, right? So that's why you're having the cravings. That's why you're having those issues. So I think it's important to understand that. If you're feeling good while you're doing the fast, that's a great thing. That's a sign that your body's burning fat for fuel and it's creating ketones to help support your brain. So that's where you want to figure out, and you can kind of gauge how you feel as well as looking at your blood sugar as you're doing the fast.